The Haunting of Blackwood Manor, a tale of terror and tragedy. Chapter 1. Moving in. The sun had begun to set as the young couple drove up to the imposing gates of Blackwood Manor. The trees surrounding the property loomed tall and foreboding, casting long shadows across the gravel driveway. As they stepped out of the car, the air seemed to grow still and silent, broken only by the creaking of the iron gates as they swung open. The couple exchanged uneasy glances, wondering if they had made a mistake in choosing this place as their new home. As they approached the front entrance, they noticed the intricate carvings on the wooden doors, which seemed to be staring back at them with an eerie intensity. The door creaked open as they pushed it, revealing a spacious foyer with a grand staircase leading up to the second floor. The couple began to explore the house, taking in its old-fashioned decor and sprawling layout. They discovered a locked room on the second floor, which piqued their curiosity. The key was nowhere to be found, but they made a mental note to come back to it later. As they settled into their new home, strange sounds began to fill the air. Footsteps echoed through the halls, doors creaked open on their own, and the couple could swear they heard whispers in the dead of night. Despite their unease, they convinced themselves it was just their imaginations running wild. Little did they know that their new home held a terrible secret, one that would soon reveal itself in all its horrifying glory. Chapter 2. Unsettling Discoveries. The days passed by, and the strange occurrences at Blackwood Manor only intensified. The couple started to dig into the history of the house and its previous occupants, hoping to uncover some answers. Their research led them to discover that the previous owners had been a wealthy family with a dark past. Rumors circulated that they had dabbled in the occult and had held secret rituals within the walls of the house. As the couple delved deeper, they found evidence that seemed to support these rumors. They found strange symbols etched into the walls of the locked room, and books on the occult hidden away in the library. Their investigation was cut short, however, when they stumbled upon a disturbing scene. In the basement, they found a hidden room filled with strange artifacts, including human bones and blood-stained ritual robes. They were horrified and realized that they had stumbled upon something far more sinister than they had anticipated. The couple knew they had to leave Blackwood Manor, but they were too late. The evil that had been lurking in the shadows had now set its sights on them, and there was no escape from its clutches. The couple was now trapped in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no waking up. Chapter 3. Nightmares and Visions. As the couple tried to come to terms with the horrifying discoveries they had made, they began to experience nightmares and strange visions. They found it difficult to sleep at night, as the house seemed to be alive with a malevolent energy. In their dreams, they saw twisted and distorted versions of the house, with dark, shadowy figures lurking in the corners. They heard whispers and murmurs in languages they couldn't understand, and felt the cold touch of unseen hands. Their waking hours were no better. They started to see apparitions and ghostly forms lurking in the corners of their vision. They heard strange noises, like the sound of rustling robes and creaking floorboards. The couple became convinced that Blackwood Manor was haunted by a vengeful spirit, and that they were the targets of its wrath. They tried to leave the house, but every time they made an attempt, they were stopped by an invisible force that seemed to be pushing them back inside. They were trapped, and they knew that they would have to face their fears if they ever hoped to escape the nightmare that had taken hold of them. Chapter 4. The Seance. Desperate for answers and hoping to communicate with the spirits that haunted Blackwood Manor, the couple decided to hold a seance. They had heard that it was possible to contact the dead and get answers to their questions through this practice. They gathered a group of friends, including a psychic medium, and set up the seance in the locked room on the second floor. They lit candles and held hands around the table, calling out to the spirits to make their presence known. At first, nothing happened. The room was quiet and still, and the only sound was the flickering of the candles. But then, a cold breeze swept through the room, and the temperature dropped several degrees. The candles flickered more intensely, and the medium began to speak in a strange, otherworldly voice. The spirit that had been haunting the house revealed itself to them, and it was not what they had expected. It was a malevolent entity, a demon that had been summoned by the previous owners through their dark rituals. It had been trapped within the walls of the house, and it was looking for a way to escape. The seance had unleashed the demon's fury, and it was now free to roam the halls of Blackwood Manor. The couple and their friends knew that they had made a grave mistake, and that they were in grave danger. The demon was now after them, and they had to fight for their lives. Chapter 5. Descent into Madness. As the demon unleashed its fury upon them, the couple and their friends began to descend into madness. The house became a labyrinth of horrors, with twisted corridors and shifting walls that seemed to lead them further into the demon's lair. They encountered all manner of terrors, from blood-soaked apparitions to writhing tentacles that seemed to be alive. They heard voices in their heads, urging them to give up and surrender to the demon's will. The couple and their friends began to turn on each other, their sanity frayed by the unrelenting terror that surrounded them. They started to see each other as enemies, and the demon exploited their fears and weaknesses, pitting them against each other in a desperate struggle for survival. As the days passed, they lost all sense of time and reality, trapped in a never-ending nightmare. They knew that they had to find a way to banish the demon and escape from Blackwood Manor before it was too late. But as their minds slipped further into madness, they began to question whether there was any escape from the horrors that surrounded them. They wondered if they were doomed to spend eternity in the demon's grip, trapped in a nightmare from which there was no waking up. Chapter 6. Confronting the Evil. Despite the madness that had taken hold of them, the couple and their remaining friends knew that they had to confront the evil that had taken over Blackwood Manor. They knew that they were running out of time, and that they had to act fast if they wanted to have any chance of survival. They began to gather whatever resources they could find, including books on the occult and ancient artifacts that they believed could be used to banish the demon. They formulated a plan and prepared themselves for a final showdown. As they made their way through the labyrinth of horrors, they encountered the demon, and the battle for their souls began. They fought with all their might, using every tool at their disposal to ward off the demon's attacks. The demon was powerful, and it seemed as if the odds were against them. But the couple and their friends refused to give up. They had come too far, and they had sacrificed too much to let the demon win. In the end, they managed to banish the demon, using a combination of ancient rituals and sheer force of will. They watched as the demon was sucked back into the void from whence it came, and the house was finally free of its malevolent presence. Exhausted and traumatized, the couple and their remaining friends stumbled out of Blackwood Manor, grateful to be alive. They knew that they would never be the same again, that the nightmare that had taken hold of them would haunt them for the rest of their lives. But they were also relieved, knowing that they had faced the greatest evil of their lives and emerged victorious. Chapter 7. Leaving the terror behind. With the demon banished and the horrors of Blackwood Manor behind them, the couple and their friends knew that they had to escape the nightmare and leave the haunted house for good. They vowed never to return to the cursed place, where their lives had been turned upside down. They left the house in a hurry, grabbing whatever belongings they could carry with them. They didn't look back, afraid that the house might pull them back into its twisted realm of terror. As they drove away from the house, they felt a sense of relief wash over them. They knew that they had survived an ordeal that would have broken most people, and they were grateful for their lives. But as they drove further away from Blackwood Manor, they realized that the nightmare wasn't over yet. The memories of the horrors they had witnessed still haunted them, and they knew that they would never be able to forget the terror that they had experienced. After settling down, they handed the Blackwood Manor to a group of paranormal investigators. The nightmare was finally over, and the couple and their friends were able to move on with their lives, no longer haunted by the horrors of Blackwood Manor.